And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bub and the Bloom, episode 59. Going to talk some K to walk percentage risers and fallers from April to May, because that is a great stat that we love to use for pitching. And there's some interesting takeaways from this Bloom board that we were discussing before the show. I will also talk about some recent news, update our weekly game that hopefully you guys are somewhat enjoying, because we're enjoying it quite a bit, and much, much more. You can find myself on Twitter at BDentric, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and my co-host is always on Twitter at RyanBHQ. Ryan, how are we doing, my friend?
We're good. Our oldest turned 4 today, man. So
Nice. Ryan and his wife's oldest, not our oldest, by the way. Just throwing it out there.
yes, Bubba Bloom Jr.
We haven't adopted a kid yet. No.
No, I mean we had fun at first pitch, but not that much. So yeah, my wife and I's oldest turned 4. So yeah, it was a good day. It was presents. It was Lightning McQueen T-shirts. It was golf clubs. So I'm trying to brainwash him early and often. And then it was bad. I went for a run this afternoon. Usually just go right after I get off work. And then right after the run was pizza, cake, and a Deschutes IPA.
You're like, well, so at least I ran today.
I guess it's just a weird combo, man. We'll see. Feeling good. A little weird.
Hey, that's good. It's good. It's the little ones deserve days like that. It's always fun. And you're smart about it, because we did talk about it before the show, but now I just thought about it. The brainwashing part works well, because then if the kid wants to play golf, your wife can't say, Ryan, no, you can't go golf today. Like, it works out really, really well, because she won't say no to your son wanting to go play golf. There's a difference. So that's beautiful.
That has happened a couple times, actually. I brought him out. I think he's come out with me 3 times just to play 9 and just to mess around. But like, he thinks the golf cart's the race car, and sand traps or sandboxes, and so he likes doing it. And so if it gets me outside and as a stress reliever for a couple hours, it works good. So so yes, that plan is in motion. We'll see how it works. He was hitting real golf balls with real golf clubs in our front yard this afternoon with my 1-year-old, which wasn't as good,
exciting,
but yeah.
That's awesome.
We'll see the day when I take both of them out. That's when it'll be a true test.
So we're about, give or take, let's just be nice, 10 years before he comes and golfs at FPAS. That'll be great.
Yeah, FPAS, what, 35?
It'll be glorious. We'll have a full-fledged day of a tournament, because by then everyone's going to want to play. It's going to be awesome. So we'll have your boy there and having a good old time. But we're here, as usual. We'll talk some fantasy baseball for you, and we got some news and notes to talk about. It's just some of the cliff notes over the last day or two, as there's ridiculous amounts of notes every day as we talk, as you're well aware if you play fantasy baseball. But one of the more, I guess, relevant notes right out the gate is Jordan Walker got recalled by the St. Louis Cardinals. He's going to be recalled to play on Friday. The news came out on Thursday. It'll be official on Friday. You know, Walker was one of the talks of the town in spring training, started with the team. Everybody loved him in fantasy drafts. Did not work so well. Went back to the minors. But in 29 games in AAA, he's hitting .239 with 4 home runs and 4 stolen bases. Wasn't like destroying the baseball or anything. But if you want to kind of make a smaller sample size here, he was heating up over his last 11 games, hitting .333 with 3 of those home runs and 1 stolen base. Now, the caveat is you still have the slew of outfielders in St. Louis, given Nootbaar's hurt, O'Neal's on the IL, Carlson's got a nagging injury. So you got some of those issues. But it's still the Cardinals, and it's Ollie Marmol, and I don't trust him. So what about you?
That's the weird thing, man. So that's the, like, we can pick and look at the stats and all this stuff, but like temporarily, I guess the playing time's there. But what happens when Tyler O'Neill is healthy? What if the Lars Nootbaar thing isn't as serious? Like, obviously Nolan Arenado is gonna be at third base. So like, how much is Jordan Walker going to play if he doesn't come up and just hit the ground running again, which is a very good probability that doesn't happen. So I was curious how many folks held on to Jordan Walker in 15 team leagues in the main event in NFBC. He's 100% rostered, and even in 12 teamers, It was very high. It was, I think,
that's surprising to me.
I have it up. Jordan Walker is 87% rostered in 12 teamers. So
wow.
he's not really like, and I don't think I'd break the fab bank for him.
No.
Like it's just he could very well, this could very, and this we see this all the time with top prospects. Sometimes it's the Acuna where they just hit the ground running and never look back. Sometimes it's the Trout where it's half a year. His first year was really bad, and then he's Mike Trout. Sometimes it's the, I don't know, Jared Kelenic. Josh Lowe, Jared Kelenic, where it's like 3 years from now, we're talking Jordan Walker. Sometimes it's the, I mean, if you're going to get real dark, it's the Jonathan Singleton, where it just never
had to go there, huh? To go there.
That's the range of outcomes. So it's just impossible to predict like what Walker will do. I worry about consistent playing time, especially like you mentioned, Bubba. Like the Cardinals have made some weird decisions this year. I could see that continuing here with Walker.
And not to mention, like, technically Newbar is just day-to-day. So, like, he's still out there. Burrell's, like I said, dealing with something still day-to-day. So, he's technically still out there. Juan Yepes came up when O'Neill went down. He's been playing off and on. Oscar Mercado's been playing quite a bit, which is wild. He's, like, slumped his last, 4 or 5 games. But he's still hitting 333 since getting called up. And he had, like, 14 or 15 steals in AAA. So, that's the dude that, you know, we saw back in Cleveland a couple years ago. There's just so many mouths to feed. And that's what makes it so difficult in St. Louis. So I think the biggest takeaway out of all the things that was said was, like Ryan said, is I wouldn't go breaking the bank. And I'm okay being wrong if he proves me wrong on this one. Like, there's Royce Lewis. Break the bank on Royce Lewis. There's going to be eventually Ellie comes up. Maybe CES comes up. Break the bank on those guys. I would be a little more cautious when it comes to Jordan Walker. But, hey, we could be wrong. You never know. It does happen. It's baseball. But that's just my 2 cents on the matter.
And we are, disclaimer, we're both on the same page in terms of like our outlook. So like we always want us, you know, we want the player to show us first before we, you know, put in considerable draft capital or fab or whatever. Sometimes that burns us. I mean, Wander Franco is laughing at us right now for that exact reason. But more times than not, I don't know. I more times than not, you're not going to time it perfectly where you spend big and you get that production immediately.
I always think of Fabapalooza that involved Oscar Mercado a couple years ago. And it was just like, we thought all these guys were going to be amazing. And what was it? Nicky Lopez was the best player in the bunch. It was like, wow.
Almost Mercado himself too.
Yeah.
Who was like one of the least heralded guys.
Yep.
Was one of the top guys.
All right. We talked about this last week, but I just wanted to bring it up because we have more, I guess, solid information here with the Cleveland Guardians in the rotation. Aaron Savali, he'll be back pitching on Friday. Maybe when you're listening to the show, he'll be getting ready to take the bump.
Yeah. Savali is back.
Which is beautiful. I almost put him in my lineups this week, but I'm like, nah, let's just make sure.
I did. Come on, Bubba.
Well, because it was like 80% he was coming back this week still. Part of, and I need pitching stats. I need, like, that's most of my teams that are doing well, it's the pitching side that's hurting me right now. So I needed to make sure I had something. Second, Tristan McKenzie is back on Sunday. That's outstanding. He was supposed to be back next week, but everything's just moving perfectly. He's doing great. It was kind of funny reading that his last rehab start got cut short because of rain. So he had 30, 35 pitches. And then he went into the batting cage and threw 2 more simulated innings to get up to 50-something pitches. Then the rain stopped. He went up to the bullpen, got up to 85 pitches, called it a night. So if you are looking at the thing at the game log, he only threw 35 pitches, he's not stretched out. No, he got stretched out. That's why I wanted to bring it up. He's ready to rock and roll come Sunday, which is great to see. And the other domino began to fall. Cal Quantrill, quote unquote, went on the IL. So
yeah. That's the big thing is so not only are Savali and McKenzie coming back, we kind of speculated this on the show last week. I'm proud of Cleveland. They did the right thing in terms of who is not in the rotation anymore. Hunter Gaddis, it looks like, is going to be in the bullpen. And yeah, this I don't know, phantom. I guess Cal Quantrill is getting some kind of shot in his shoulder, so it can't be. Maybe the shot's filled with water. I don't know. Or maybe he is legitimately hurt.
He had another bout out in his last time out, so it could be something.
Yeah, I mean, this week was the final straw where Logan Allen just shoved on, I forget which day it was, but looked awesome this week. And then Quantrill, I think, gave up 6 or 8 runs or something. So Cleveland had to make that move to keep Allen and obviously Bybee in the rotation. So it looks like that's what it's going to be going forward. And again, congrats to Cleveland for, in my opinion, kicking out the right 2 guys in the rotation.
doing what's right, giving them a chance to win, which is surprising. I thought they were out of it last year. They ended up almost. Did they win the division? They came close to winning the division or something. So they keep surprising me with their teams. I was pulling up Bybee through today, 5 innings, 3 runs, 6 Ks. They'll take that every day. So that's decent stuff there as well. All right, next up on the docket here, Justin Steele. Justin Steele, he left after 3 innings on Wednesday with left forearm tightness. I honestly have not seen any news on Thursday. He's supposed to have an MRI. I haven't seen it. I was searching about a half hour before the show. Still have not seen anything yet. We know how it left forearm tightness usually leads to. Not always, but usually leads to. So this sucks.
It sucks big time. Justin Steele said it was precautionary. He was confident it's not that big of a deal, but this is when you do not trust the player. And yeah, so I mean, the good news is, so like, yeah, we're recording this Thursday night. We don't know, but I'm pretty sure we'll have some kind of information by Sunday. I guess the question is like, what's your cutoff for if he is out 2 months? Are you holding on to Justin Steele? If he's out a month, are you holding on to Justin Steele? I think for me, it's somewhere. Obviously, it's like league dependent. He is on a few of my 15-team leagues. If it's like a month, I think hard about keeping Justin Steele. If it's any more than that, I think I've got to make room and cut him, just because, like, I don't know. He's been great, but the metrics are okay. Like they're okay. They're good, but
I wonder when the arm started to hurt, because his last like start or two have not been normal Justin Steele starts. That was kind of I looked back on that thinking, okay, maybe there was something starting up there that we don't know about.
The velocity was down. Obviously, the start he left, but yeah, the one before that was against Cincinnati. Only 7 whiffs and 70 pitches, gave up 5 runs, 10 hits. So
yeah, it was a little off compared to his normal repertoire. But yeah, the cutoff's going to be interesting, because this is coming from a guy now that kept Savali in as many leagues as he could. Couldn't keep them all, but that says a lot. I still have Max Fried sitting out there, and that was a 2-month thing. But again, I've said it on the show, like if it came down to having to drop him, I would. I'm just trying not to drop him. I think I still have Nick Lodolo on one team, just because it's all team dependent, like you said. And there's other teams where I've dropped Lodolo immediately. I've dropped a couple other guys immediately. When it comes to Justin Steele, I'd probably be, if it's over a month, I'd probably be on the drop side of things, just because we're getting farther into the season now, where a month actually means a lot more. That's a great point, big factor of it. And with these guys, especially, so let's say a month from now and the Cubs are potentially out of it, they shut him down early last year, just to like rest him. What's their excuse to like rush him back and try to do something again? So there's a lot of what if circumstances here. I would obviously wait for more news. Hopefully we get some by Sunday, but I'd probably wait till next week to drop him, is the way I look at it. Kind of get all the news in there. He's going to want a second opinion, obviously, if things don't go right the first time. Go that whole route. And then if it's like sorry if this is sensitive, Ryan. If it's like Mason Miller, we had optimism, got the second opinion. It was after the week, then we dropped him the following week. That's kind of where Justin Steele sits with me right now. So
yep, that makes sense.
Same scenario. All right. Braves, they called up, I'm going to butcher this, I know I am, AJ Smith. I call it Shaver. I think I've heard Shaver. I've heard a few different terms. I should probably have a book on this, but minor leaguers aren't in the book, so I wouldn't even be able to tell you.
Not in the pronunciation.
I wouldn't be able to tell you to do it properly, so come yell at me if you'd like. But they called him up, and it was funny because like there's a lot of great prospect analysts out there. Chris Clegg's one I really like, because he's always tweeting videos and talking about guys and gives you like good little synopsises. Not to mention he's a diehard Braves fan, so he's watching these guys even closer. And it was literally like a day or two before the call-up. He was talking about how his recent performances and how good he's been doing, all this stuff. And he just got moved up to AAA. His 2 AAA appearances, 12 total innings, 4 runs, 13 Ks. He's gone away from high A to AAA already this year. The dude's 20 years old. 20. Think about that, Ryan. 20. And he's just very, very good. Right now they have him as bullpen depth, but a person in the Gain of the Edge Discord mentioned it, and then I've heard, I think it was on Rates and Barrels, I listened to it today, mentioned it. This is your quote-unquote Spencer Strider type dude. The year Spencer Strider came up. He's got the kind of 2-pitch arsenal. He's got the ability to start in the bullpen and eventually make an impact later. Now, it's really, really rough to give that guy that comparison. I'm not going to deny that. But
You
if you're
probably saw the face I made over the.
Yeah, I did. That's why I clarified that real quick. I wanted to back it up. Like, hey, I'm not saying that's who he's going to be, but that's that type of player that starts in the bullpen with really good stuff that could creep into the rotation and have an impact for like 2 months to end the season. So you draft him now with the bullpen role that could turn into a good starter for maybe 2 months. That's what I was trying to go with there. Okay, what's your thoughts on that? Now that I got all that minutia out of the way, what's your thoughts?
No, I mean that's the natural comp to make, and like there's a chance that happens. There have been tons of bullpen depth with 2 good pitches with prospect pedigree, and none of them are the next Spencer Strider. So like I think we're just trying to chase something that I don't think really exists. That was such an anomaly season last year from Strider. I think that thought is also going to pump up Smith Shavers. That's how we do it. Price and Fab this week, and maybe not though, because like really, I mean, I don't know. You're just banking on him moving to the rotation at some point, but it's going back to that like Justin Steele conversation. How long until he moves to the rotation? If it's a month, if it's 2, like you're just holding a middle reliever who doesn't have more than 60. I think he threw 68 innings in single A last year, 14 innings at high A this year, 7 at double A. So like I don't know. I can just see this going sideways, at least in the short term, pretty quickly. It's interesting. We were talking about rates and barrels. Derek Van Riper and I co-manage a XFL team, and there's a supplemental draft every month, and so it's keeper league. And we're thinking of Smith Shaver to take him because he's not rostered, and we could take him, but we're looking at Matt McLean is also available too. So I think it's a pretty pretty easy call. But I don't know. I don't want to I don't want to douse the long-term outlook because he does seem extremely talented. I just think for this year, you're banking on a lot of things happening from a 20-year-old to get that return on investment.
100%. Yeah. But okay, the other angle I'll put, because I don't disagree, it's going to be very difficult to get that investment. So he's definitely a guy I'm not breaking the bank on, but I will have some bids out there for him, I'd say.
Sure.
But like you got Jared Schuster has been a good story. Who's to say that, that can't flip flop at some point in time? Maybe Schuster needs to limit his innings and so on and so forth. Health is always a concern with anybody in the Rays rotation. And the real point I was going to get to is we talk about how bad streaming pitching is. How nice would it be to have Smith Shaver pitch like 2 times in a week and get you like 3 innings, like 5 Ks and good ratios?
Yep.
Throwing that, I just want to throw that kind of scenario out there as well as a potential option. That's how I got Strider in a lot of leagues last year. Last year's his first year, yeah.
Yep.
I picked him up just for I just wanted guys that I could throw out there for a few innings, and did I think it would turn into that? No, but it worked out pretty well. So.
And on a team that gets plenty of wins, so like I can see that angle where if you do get 3 to 4 pretty elite innings out of middle relief with maybe a win every couple weeks or something like that, that is a lot better than your 7th starter in a 15-team league for sure.
All right, some somber news. Cedric Mullins, having a couple days ago, went on the IL with a groin injury. They're saying grade 2, which usually means close to a month, give or take. But if you listen to the Orioles manager, he's saying it's the best case scenario, and we just think it's going to be a few weeks. So maybe 3 to 4 weeks is what we're thinking with Cedric Mullins. We'll see. They added Aaron Hicks, who immediately had late muscle cramps and left. That was the most comical thing on the face of the planet. If you guys listen to the First Pitch podcast, you should have heard my excitement through my voice because I was just chuckling at that whole scenario.
It was ball don't lie moment of 2020.
No, it was so like every Yankees fan is just doing the gif from Leonardo where he's pointing at the TV. I was just like, see? That was what it was. But reality is it just sucks, and I don't know where you go from here.
Yeah, I mean, even just the fact that Baltimore signed Aaron Hicks does say something to me that they think this is going to be. I mean, I don't know. Why not just try? I mean, Baltimore has plenty of young talent. I know it's mostly infield driven, but plenty of young talent they could at least give a shot temporarily. I don't know. I mean, you and Curlin covered things pretty in depth on this one earlier in the week and on Bench with Bubba and did a great job with it. I think. And Curlin was exactly right. You can't replace Cedric Mullins. You just try and piece it together week by week or half week by half week. And you definitely, unless something else comes out, you definitely don't drop Cedric Mullins. That's it's a shame, man, because he was having just a hell of a season.
Yep. Awesome season. And yeah, that's the biggest takeaway point. You can't replace him with one guy. So piece it together, play the matchups, see how it plays out here. And
Actually, we were
there.
talking before the show. He has the same exact home run total and stolen base total
as a Yankee,
as a Yankee shortstop.
Then tell me the OBP differences.
Hey, 100 points of batting average or OBP never hurt anyone.
Never hurt anybody. Oh, that's good stuff.
No, it's a blow. What was Mullins hitting? What was he at? 263.
He was playing well.
Pretty good.
He was playing well. Some Tigers news. Erod, Eduardo Rodriguez. I literally thought this was a prank, and then it wasn't April Fool's. This is actually a real injury. He's going to miss, I put some time, with a left finger pulley. It's what it's called. I thought it was like a playground accident. Left finger pulley, and most people miss a couple months. This is not good. So would you be dropping Erod?
I mean, I don't have any Erod just because I'm still licking my wounds from last year's MIA rod. But I guess you're holding. I mean, you can't. It's really hard to drop a 2.13 ERA. I know that we were just talking about Justin Steele. Like, I think I'd rather have Erod than I'd hold on to Erod over Steele at this point. I just think Erod, the strikeout potential is a little higher, but it is a tough hold given like what we've kind of learned about this injury. But I don't know. It's so dependent how many injuries you have. I know that's the cop-out answer, but Erod's definitely not the HQ expected ERA like 3.50, which I think is probably where, like, it's been a good year for Erod. The skills have taken a step forward, but I think that's the kind of pitcher you're looking at the rest of the way. So take that what you will with, what you need on your staff for that one.
And between him and Steele's got the forearm. Erod's got a finger. I'll take the finger all day long. So we'll see how that plays out. The other bit of Tigers news that I just wanted to bring up is Riley Green, who was having just a monstrous month of May. And then he fractures his tibia and takes a setback. And it's one of those injuries that if it's your tibia, it's basically you're going to get put in a boot and don't put any pressure on it because it has to heal type situation, which is never good. And like I said, he was really starting to put it together in a big, big way. So this is a big blow. For people that did roster Green or picked him up over the last few weeks, I think it's a drop. But what do you got on this one?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. It's just this one hurts the most. Like Riley Green hitting 365, 435 OBP in May, 3 homers, 4 steals. Like this was coming together. He's still just 22 years old, man. Happened at the worst possible time. There are a couple, like, just streaming wise with the Tigers, like when the Tigers face right-handed pitchers, the combo of Baddoo and Zach McKinstry. I mean, McKinstry's leading off against righties.
McKinstry's almost startable, period.
Yeah. I mean, depending how often they face lefties, I think he probably doesn't play much against lefties going forward, but maybe he does now with Green out of the picture. I mean, they're just trying to fill bodies. So if there is any kind of silver lining, I think, I don't know, hitching a ride to McKinstry or Baddoo and like 12 teamers and work out for you, but definitely won't be Riley Green. And I do think Riley Green's a drop just because it sounds really bad, and it sounds like something you can rush back and
mess up pretty good. Yeah,
yep.
He needs to be out for a couple months for sure. Yep. Last but not least, this happened on Thursday evening. Chris Sale left after 3 2/3 innings. It's weird because when I first saw it, people were thinking it was a lower body injury. That was like the report that was coming out. And then after the game, they found out he has left shoulder tightness or soreness, I should say. Regardless, it's left shoulder, and that is less than ideal. He had 6 Ks through his 3 2/3. We've seen the velocity keeps coming up in his recent starts. He's been getting strikeouts. This is not good at all. I'm hoping it's precautionary, but anytime we hear shoulder, it's never good. Maybe this is why his velocity went up recently, and it did this to his shoulder. I don't know, but Sale might be out for a bit too.
It sucks. Chris Sale is on our looking forward to our Bloomboard segment of the show this week. Chris Sale pops as a gainer from April to May in terms of strikeout to walk. A 26% strikeout to walk rate in May is just fantastic. 2.42 ERA in May. Like Chris Sale was putting it together. And you never want to hear shoulder with anybody. So we'll see. I don't know. It's like Corey Kluber go back into the rotation. That
he's
could
already
be.
pitching. He's already pitching this weekend because of the doubleheader.
Yeah, they have a Saturday doubleheader. I think he just had a kid too. The Klubot just reproduced.
Really, a little bot. I have to look.
So
I feel like he's so old to be having kids, but
he's probably not. Like we talk about these old
37.
guys.
He's not that old.
Well, he's 37. So
he's 37. I had a kid when I was 37. So that's it's old, but it's not that old, I guess.
Can happen. I actually I kind of want it to be Cutter Crawford time. I don't know.
That would be awesome. It hasn't been pretty though, but I get where you're at with this one.
It hasn't been pretty for Cutter Crawford, and so I'll plug this. I did an article for HQ this week that looked at guys who had just one bad start all season. Braxton Garrett was the cover boy, and I kind of used him to promote and that sort of thing. But Cutter Crawford popped on that. Cutter Crawford made 2 starts to start the season. One of those 2 starts, his first start of the year, Cutter Crawford gave up 7 earned runs. And we kind of never heard from him again, but he has been really good quietly since then, mostly in a bullpen role, albeit 72 pitch appearance, 52 pitch appearance. Like he's a multi-inning guy. So like Cutter Crawford could get stretched out. I know I'm kind of speculating here and this is for deep league only, but I'd like to see Boston at least try and give Cutter Crawford a shot. The skills actually look really good. Again, if you take out that one outing, it does count. It did happen, but Cutter Crawford's quietly been a lot better since mid-April.
Yeah, the thing I'm scared about, I feel like this is like, let's put Nick Pivetta back in the rotation. That's kind of that's probably what's going to happen, unfortunately. I'm with you on, I think Cutter Crawford would be the fun one to go to, but it just feels like it's just screaming for, let's put Nick Pivetta back. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
and Kluber did have his wife did have a kid. He's on paternity list. You are correct. I'll just ask you because I was looking at the roster resource for Boston. The recent news on Alberto Mondesi, still not good. I never drafted him, but like people are still holding on to him. Like you were talking about rostered players. I have 10 team or he's still 30% rostered in OCs. To me, that's 30% too many.
Well, and they came out this week that Trevor Story is going to come back at short.
Play shortstop. So yeah, then why did they even go and get Alberto Mondesi? Well, I guess they thought he'd be playing sooner, I guess.
Well, they thought he'd no one knows. I don't know if anyone knows where he is. He hasn't played. Yeah. He hasn't.
It's wild.
It sucks. I hope he's okay, but I don't. Did you say 30% still in 12
teamers? Yeah, in OCs. It's 30%.
Gotta cut bait.
Get out,
especially
folks.
With the Story news. Like they're obviously not expecting Mondesi back if they're bringing Story back at short.
And that Story news is great because my Gladiator teams are sitting in 5th and 6th place. Watch out, folks. Watch out, folks.
Didn't you draft him on all 3?
All 3 of them, maybe.
And he was like the first injury of the season.
Oh, yeah. Like, I don't know if we were in 2023 yet. It's just like, boom,
yeah. When did that Story news
it was close to New Year's.
It might have been December.
Yeah.
I remember it was like early in draft season. You were like, I've already got 3 teams that are tanked.
Yep. Over. But the bright side is 2 of the 3 are literally ones in 5th and ones in 6th. It's hilarious. That's how Gladiators is like fruition, just battle of fruition.
And it turns out like we thought at the time, that's a killer. No, because like every Gladiator team is
just beat up.
It's just beat up, and we're only a third of the way through, man.
Yep, pretty crazy. All right, let's talk some weekend matchups for the week. As expected, we tied last week. I will say Vinny V went back on the IL with an elbow injury. So that was just like shot. Like I'm watching it going, okay, I know he's Vinny V, but like he's off already. He's playing the Giants. This is bad. And then I know he played Giants, he's playing the Mariners. And then next thing you know, he's out. And like, okay, well, there goes that one. But my other pick worked pretty well. I kept wanting to text you or tweet you about the Candyman because even on Friday he had like 5 points. It was going to be a runaway winner.
Yeah. Candyman won it on Friday. Actually, I think he didn't even play.
He didn't play Sunday. He didn't play Sunday, and he had the most points I put up all season.
Yeah, Heimer Candelario had 8 total bases plus walks, which is what we're using. Matt Carpenter, God, quietly that DH spot, which in San Diego, that platoon between Nelson Cruz and Carpenter. That's
Did you see who DH for them today on Thursday?
I did not. Can I get? Is it Gary Sanchez?
Gary Sanchez.
Oh,
He had his second home run in as many games with the Padres, and he also had like an RBI single or something. He's been with Padres for 2 games, has 2 home runs already, and he DH'd today.
so wow. So
Yeah.
your pitcher pick went on the IL, and my hitter pick has been usurped by Gary Sanchez.
Yep.
Is how we want to sum up last week's game. That was good. Actually, yeah, I remember I tweeted you, but it was a risky move, man, because I picked Hunter Gaddis, who, we just talked about him moving back to the bullpen. But I gave you the old Vince Velasquez on Saturday morning before Gaddis pitched, and I was a little confident, but I did pull it out.
I gave you a nice tweet back, hoping I'd be right. But I said, let's see if he's the hunted or the hunter, and but he was good enough. Let's put it that way. It's good enough.
We're at let's see, we're at 10. You're up 10-5 on me. So split last week. I can do splits. I can't handle too many more weekend sweeps.
No more sweeps. Well, let's see if you can get some back this week. As I'm really liking my picks, so I feel another sweep coming up here. Why don't you let the people know about some good matchups for the week?
All right, yeah. So we are using again the Baseball HQ kind of matchup tool that looks at starting pitcher ratings, which Bubba, as you know, writing our daily matchup column 2 or 3 times a week. We kind of flip those on their back and do hitter ratings based on those. So easiest matchups this week, and it definitely makes sense. The Royals have a great matchup, and Royals probably have some streamable guys that are available on waivers. So the Royals get 3 against Colorado.
It's in Kansas City too, which is surprising.
And it's in Kansas City. But it's Chase Anderson, Austin Gomber, and Kyle Freeland. So there's a little bit of lefty righty split, but that's one you want to go after. Marlins, anybody against Oakland at this point, but Marlins get 3 at home against Oakland, Fujinami, Medina, and Paul Blackburn. And then my pick for this week is Mike Yastrzemski, because I think any of your boys, any Giants lefties, face 3 against Baltimore, 3 righties. So any Giants lefties, I think, are good plays this weekend.
They definitely are. I think that's a fun one. I'm debating. I might go up there on Saturday night to watch Bradish versus Cobb. We'll see how that one goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might go up there. It's Logan Webb bobblehead night. No, but it's a 7-0. It's a late game on Saturday, so I'm kind of interested to go check that out.
But, have you been to a game this year?
Nope. I've only gone to one each of the last 2 seasons. I've been kind of like, they raise the prices so much. It's just easier to watch it at home half the time. But it's still a great ballpark. It's a great experience. I enjoy it. My pick for hitter this week is one that I thoroughly enjoy. You mentioned the ratings for the week. The Milwaukee Brewers are in Great American Small Park for 3 games this weekend. They face off with a lefty and 2 righties. And no, one is not Hunter Green because he pitched great on Thursday. It's Williamson, Ashcraft, and Lively, which is ironic in a minute when we talk about that. But I went with Owen Miller. Owen Miller, he's playing versus righties and lefties. He's hitting second in the Brewers lineup. He's hitting for average with a little bit of pop, and Great American Small Park will make that pop go even better. Again, hitting second should help with the runs scored as well. So I'll take my chances with some Owen Miller in this matchup, just mainly because I'm top of the order, potentially 3 games, Great American Small Park. I'll take Owen Miller.
Hitting .331 this year in a small sample, but not that small. 124 at bats, 4 homers, 6 steals. Feels like he got half of that all last week.
Yep. Yeah, he had a good week.
But yeah, hitting second in that park every day that'll play.
All right, now I'll let you have the floor. Tell me who your pitcher is before I get to butcher a name again.
Yeah, so the matchup isn't that great. It's Tampa Bay going to Fenway. It's the second part of a doubleheader, so there's maybe Tampa doesn't play all their starters both games. I'm going Tanner Houck. We just talked about the Red Sox rotation. Houck is obviously very safe there. The big thing with Houck, despite that, I think he's got like a 5.50, 5.30 ERA, but he misses bats. He gets ground balls. And again, I mean, we kind of say it every week, kind of broken record, but picking some of these pitchers is just really tough. And again, we're using under 50% rostered in 12 teamers. How 13% swinging strike, 50% ground ball rate. I know the matchup's bad, but he's pitched a lot better than the surface stats would indicate. So could very easily get blown up against Tampa, but I like the strikeout potential, which means a lot in our point system. And you never know. Maybe if that strand rate really, which is super low, basically anyone getting on base against Tanner Houck is scoring. If that can correct at some point, Tanner Houck won't be half bad in most league sizes.
Yep, that is an interesting one with Houck for sure. He's had his goods, his bads. We'll see where it goes from there. For me, I'm going with Ben Lively. This is one I'm ready to blow up in my face because I still don't know how he's doing this. I've talked about him on a few shows. He's made 3 starts now, 4 runs total in 17 and a third innings with 22 strikeouts. More impressively to me, at Boston, and then 2 games of Great American Small Park against St. Louis and the Yankees. Like, that just blows my mind. He still only has a 3.18 xFIP, 2.08 ERA, so it's not a complete mess, but 100% left on base rate, 2.16 BABIP, not sustainable. Like, still has given up 3 home runs. That could go up even more in Great American Small Park where all those home runs came. And he's just not overwhelming to me. The fastball's not great. The slider's what's bailing him out a ton. So the game where that slider does not show up is going to be disastrous for Ben Lively. That would be another one to mention.
You sound real confident.
Out of the options this week, man, I wrote him down and Luis Medina. So we're going Ben Lively for the strikeout upside. That's where I was going, was the strikeout upside. Milwaukee came over 24% of the time versus righties in May, hitting 222. So I'll take my chances on a Sunday, hopefully a getaway day lineup where you get a couple scrubs thrown out there for Ben, and we'll take advantage of that. Just get me another, keep doing the K per inning plus, and you can give up 3 or 4 runs because it's only going to take about a 4-point performance to get the dub this week. So let's go Ben Lively.
Nice. I caught that.
All righty. Let's talk bloom boards. We're doing K to walk percentages, which is what we love, of course. And it's going to be risers and fallers from April to May. So the floor is yours, Ryan. I know we've talked K to walk quite a bit on this show, but it's for good reasons. So would you like to remind the listeners of what we got going on here?
Yeah, we talk K to walk because I think it's easy for everyone to understand. We all can see strikeouts and walks. There's been some great advances in stats and stuff that we kind of like to use, but are very hard to kind of see on the field. And strikeout minus walk is just proven over time to be very, predictive of good pitching performance. So what I did for this one, given that it is a new month, it's June 1st, it's my kid's birthday, we're going to look at April versus May, top 10 gainers in strikeout minus walk, and top 10 faders. And we'll put some context on some of these guys. A lot of these guys, it does need context. But what I did also is I just threw, just to see, it's kind of interesting, even though strikeout minus walk and ERA are pretty closely linked. I threw their ERA, each pitcher's ERA on there from April to May on each list. And so if you are viewing on YouTube, we've got the board up. I also tweeted it out, my account, on Thursday, and we'll do so as well Friday morning if you want to follow along. Each pitcher had to pitch 20 innings in each month. So I tried to filter out some of the like back end starters, at least get like 4 starts in each month. I know we're in small sample land. Try to get that up as much as we can. So a lot of interesting names, I think. And just like, I don't know, half of this too is just perception. We talk about guys that either sucked in April or were really good in April, and we don't, maybe, I don't want to say pay as much attention. We just don't notice the risers and fallers that happen in May. And that will continue even further, obviously, once that other sport hits the spotlight.
Which is already starting to happen, folks. So giddy up on that. And this is where playing DFS helps me out a ton because I can keep up with these guys that are playing well as the season go on. And one guy I wanted to highlight was the top guy on the list is Merrill Kelly, because I think people will see the name and be like, what? His K to walk went from 10.4 to 26.7. ERA in April 3.45 to 2.59 in May. He's been just absolutely ridiculous this year. The fact of the strikeouts, that's the one that really, really surprises me, is the strikeouts. But like his ERA on the season's 2.83, his exit's 3.69. So it's playing along as still decent in this era of baseball. It's Merrill Kelly, who we've seen have moments of being very good. When I think Merrill Kelly, I think more so like he'll eat innings. He's like a poor man's Charlie Morton. It's kind of how I look at Merrill Kelly. He'll eat you innings, get you some strikeouts, not as many as Morton, but kind of the same type of player in that mindset. But he's looked really, really good. I have one more nugget I will add after you talk to see if you bring it up or not, but it really opened my eyes today when I saw it on Twitter. But what's your thoughts on Merrill Kelly?
I'll try and drop some nugs and see if I can take it. The first thing that I'll bring up, and I'll probably bring this up with a few guys, is when you do look at these like 4 or 5 start intervals, look at the schedule, who'd they face.
Bingo. That was my nugget.
Was that it?
Yeah, because I saw Matt Modica.
Boom.
But before I saw your Bloom board, Modica tweeted this out this morning. Kelly's March and April versus May. He did innings pitched, K did all the different stats, and it looks awesome. And then his March and April schedule versus May schedule.
Yep.
That says a lot to me, actually.
The April schedule, man, it's not only
rough.
so. I actually just looked at May and was like, oh, that's a pretty easy schedule. I didn't realize how rough April was. The Dodgers, the Brewers, at St. Louis, which in mid-April, St. Louis was kind of struggling, but then at Coors. Like that was his April schedule. And then in May, it was Washington at home, Miami at home, at Oakland, at Pittsburgh, and the slumping Pittsburgh Pirates. And then his most recent start, Merrill Kelly's most recent start against Boston. So like that is something that you definitely need to, like I said, we're going to paint some context on just these numbers. And we always say the Bloom board is these boards are the start of the conversation, not the end. That is one with Merrill Kelly, who I think is nowhere near as good as he showed in May, is nowhere near as bad as he showed in April. I know that's kind of the like safe way to play it, is to say split the difference. If I had to lean one way or the other, I would actually lean a little bit more on the May side to Merrill Kelly. The other part that I'd add here is Merrill Kelly added a full mile-an-hour fastball tick on his four-seam fastball, which does matter a lot to go from so each pitcher's like individual fastball velocity doesn't mean that much, but if a single pitcher can increase that, it can mean a lot. So Merrill Kelly throwing 93 in May doesn't sound that impressive, but it's up from 91.9 in April. So a full mile an hour on the fastball, I think, is a big deal. Merrill Kelly therefore missed a lot more bats in May, 13% swinging strike, which led to those Ks. So that's kind of the 3.45 ERA in April, 2.59 in May. I think Merrill Kelly the rest of the way 3.25, 3.50, something like that. But Bubba, to what you were saying, those ratios over the volume that Merrill Kelly can give you, and this is a guy who threw 200 innings last season, I think is really valuable.
Bingo. Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to bring him up for, because he's not a flashy guy at all, and people don't believe it when they see his stats half the time, but he's better than people give him credit for. I want to bring up Jon Gray. He was next on your list, actually. Went from a 3.8 K to walk to an 18.4. ERA went from 3.91 to 1.95. He made one May start on May 2nd against Arizona, where he still struggled. But then from May 8th in Seattle on his final 4 starts, that May 8th start was when he made a pitch mix change, velocity changed, and then you saw a dude that literally gave up 3 runs in all 4 of those starts combined, struck out 16, 20, 27 over those 4 starts. Was a whole different ball player. Looked like the Jon Gray we could all hope he would be outside of Coors Field, obviously. And at first, you see it once, okay, do it again. Well, he's done it 4 straight times now. So I'm kind of I'm believing now that, hey, this is who he is. He figured something out. He tweaked something. So I wanted to bring him up as well. What else do you have on Jon Gray?
Yeah, no, you covered it pretty well. The pitch mix change, at least with me, if I see a pitch mix change, I tend to trust the more recent skills more than, good or bad, than the previous one. So that was a really good point. And yeah, the last 4 starts, 20 whiffs against Seattle for Jon Gray, only 6 at Oakland, kind of weird, but then 13 and then 16 whiffs in each of his last 2 starts. Higher velocity, pitch mix change. I'm not saying Jon Gray is going to be a 1.95 ERA guy that he was in May the rest of the way, but can he sit in the low 3s? Absolutely. The thing where I know we're not out of the woods yet with Jon Gray is injuries. It's been 2019, 2020, 21, 22. He's spent each of the last 4 years spent over 27 days on the IL. He doesn't just necessarily get healthy this year. So ride him while you can. I think he's really going to be really good on a per inning basis. But we'll see what Gray does. But it's been a great month. Not quite as good as rotation mate Nate, but still pretty good.
I'm proud of you for throwing that one in there while you still could.
He didn't show up on this list. I don't know.
Well, because when you're so great in one month and you're still great the next month, it's hard to throw up on both lists.
There we go.
You're
Correct.
welcome.
Correct answer.
You're welcome. Yeah, I thought it was Modico that tweeted. He always tweets out little nuggets like this, but it was not him. Someone else. I apologize, whoever tweeted it. But there was only 2 pitchers in the month of May with an ERA below 1, and one of them was Nathan Eovaldi. So just goes to show you on that one. We got Nick Pollock in the chat saying, "What's up to my favorite people?" Nick Pollock,
What's up,
just
Nick?
living the dream out there. We all want to be Nick Pollock someday. We mentioned, or I kind of threw out the name Charlie Morton when it came to Merrill Kelly with the innings and the ratios and whatnot. Morton's on this list, and this is an interesting one because it kind of flips the narrative. He went 10.9K to walk in April to 19.5 in May, which is awesome. He's getting close to, like, we want that 20% or above. But then the ERA went from 2.76 to 4.45, nearly like 1.5, almost 1 3/4 of a run higher. And this could also go to the schedules, which I could let you handle if you like, because you definitely had some tough ones on there, Dodgers specifically. But what's your takes on Morton? Because I say it every time. I feel like a broken record on my DFS show. It's like, okay, you can play Charlie Morton because he's going to get you 5 or 6 innings, going to give up 3 to 4 runs, and probably strike out at least a batter per inning, because that's what Charlie Morton does more often than not when he takes the mound. So what's your thoughts on Chucky?
The other thing with Morton too, because I do like to look into these game logs and kind of see not only his schedule, but like what did he do? A lot of the ERA, you mentioned the ERA, 4.45 ERA in May, like that is kind of hiding what Charlie Morton is doing beneath the surface. That 4.45 ERA is all because of one start. He gave up 6 runs to the Dodgers, who, are a really good team.
You can allow that one to slide.
Yes, exactly. And so, like, a lot of that is just damage from one start, which I know counts, but Charlie Morton has pitched extremely well. He's given up in his other starts in May 4, 2, 0, and 2 earned runs. He had 13 or more whiffs in each start in May. He had 2 starts with over 20 whiffs. Like that's unreal to get 20 whiffs
It's
in
an
one
ageless
start,
wonder, man. Just ageless wonder.
Old man still got it. So, like,
it's awesome.
If you can, and I know maybe you play up that 4.45 ERA in May and try and buy Charlie Morton. I'm feeling just as good about Morton this year as I did last year, and he was really good in the second half last year.
Yeah, he's been absolutely outstanding. Another guy I want to mention is Kodai Senga. Went from a 12K to walk in April to 21.2 in May, 4.15 ERA to 2.79. This is a guy we know he's got the ghost fork. He's got all these great pitches. I remember watching his start in San Francisco and being like, man, he's got zero control. And he's had control issues this year. It's part of the K to walk issues, but his ERAs, his indicators, his XFIPs and everything, all pretty solid. There's one thing that I know for sure stands out to me, but again, I want to see what you got on him before I throw this one out here. But Kodai Senga right now, there's a clear time to start and sit him in my mind.
Okay, that wasn't my nugget. I'll toss that one back to you. I do want to harp on the control a little bit. Like, it is bad. And one of the things I look at, and we've used this at Baseball HQ in the forecaster for quite some time, because we don't have much of a track record on Senga. Yes, we have what he did overseas, but translating that over to the majors can be a fickle exercise. I look at ball percentage, ball rate. It's a 40% ball rate for Kodai Senga. Your league average on that is like 34%, and ball rate is, and we've shown it at HQ, a very tight indicator for control. So I don't think the control issues that we've seen from Senga so far this season are going away. Like, he's just not throwing enough strikes. And he's got the stuff. Like, we've seen glimpses. I mean, he had a 12 strikeout game in May. Senga's last start against Philadelphia, no walks, 9 Ks. But Senga's had, 5 starts where he's had 4 or more walks already this season. And I think just over time that comes back to bite you. I don't think we're seeing any kind of like breakout in the making here. He's going to have those peaks like we saw recently, but I think he's also going to have some valleys, just because that control can go back to bite him, or that lack of control.
All I'm going to say when it comes to Kodai Senga, home road splits. It's as clear as day if you just look at the game logs. But if you want to go deeper, I know people say small sample, but we're 2 months in. He's got about 4 or 5 starts in each ballpark. I'll take those for now. Home has a 1.20 ERA, road 6.12. Let's go deeper into the advanced stats here. His K rate 32.5 at home, 12% walk rate on the road, 27-1, 14.4%. He's got a 3.48 xFIP at home, 4.17 on the road. This is where it gets really fun. At home, he has a 4% home run to fly ball. On the road, 22.7% home run to fly ball. Obviously, a lot can change. It's still early, but at the same time, I've seen at least enough to go, he might be comfortable. He's new to the country, sleeping in his own bed, having his own routine. There's a lot to be said about stuff like that, at least in a first time through things. So home road splits, and if you look at his game logs, even in May, his only bad starts were on the road. It's pretty cut and dry. So just a little something else to look at. Again, can change, but that's the DFS guy in me looking at the little things like that. So something to watch. Yep. All right. If you're good, I'm ready to go to the fallers on this one.
I think
you had someone else you wanted to mention.
No, I think I will give, since it seems like nobody talks about him, I will give Framber Valdez his
I hope Nick's
shining moment. I hope
Nick's still listening, by the way.
Framber Valdez, man, so good. He does not get the credit because he doesn't get all the strikeouts, but like, good Lord, Framber Valdez is awesome. Yep. Sub-3 ERA in April and May. And like, a lot of this stuff is bulletproof because he just allows so many ground balls. Yep. It is just so hard to square up and get big innings against Framber Valdez. He is he's an ace that like nobody seems to talk about.
On so many of my rosters. It's beautiful. Yeah, I love Framber, and it was funny in the preseason. People were like, "Oh, the shift band's going to kill Framber, all the ground balls." Okay. It's called soft contact and ground balls, folks. It's soft contact and ground balls. So yeah,
and shift ban. It really wasn't like, we're still seeing some pretty significant shifts out there.
Yeah, like, okay, he's 1 foot around the second base bag. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. We got that going for us. Let's go to the fallers side of things here, and I want to go straight to the man on top because Zac Gallen went through a run again of like 4 or 5 starts with no runs, like something we saw last season with Gallen, where he was absolutely dominating. The strikeouts were good. He bounced back in his last start nicely against Colorado, but he had a rough go. Pittsburgh destroyed him. That was a like what happened moment. But overall, I guess he was too good in April is what it almost comes down to. It kind of makes his May look worse, but 35.6% K to 13.5 in May with a 109 ERA to 3.34. So what's your takes on Zac Gallen, who I guess he wasn't walking anybody in May or April as well?
Yeah, this is one where, like, when I said at the top, like the perception of these guys, I don't have much Zac Gallen, unfortunately. And so like, all I heard all April was how great Zac Gallen was, and he was like a top 5 pitcher. And then like I think of Zac Gallen as a top 5 pitcher, and May was not as kind. It did still have some. I mean, it was like just really one bad start. I mean, he had a 12 strikeout, 0 walk game at the Angels, 7 strikeout, 0 walk game against Oakland. I'm not worried. Bubba, you kind of said it too. Like I think the reason why Zac Gallen is the top quote unquote fader in strikeout minus walk is because the dude had a 36% strikeout minus walk.
He had like no walks in April. He had like what, 2 total walks or something?
League average, just to like, so we're not just spitting out numbers. League average strikeout minus walk, I want to say is like 15-16%. Probably should have looked that up before.
I'll look it up while you get there.
So like Zac Gallen in May at 13.5 is really, I mean, it's below average, but maybe he just had a bad month. I mean, you compare that to April, like I said, 36% is just like not on this planet. So Zac Gallen will be fine. I'm not worried one iota with Gallen. So, which is kind of ironic given that he's the number 1 faller in strikeout minus walk. But again, that's why we kind of take this deeper dive and look at some of these guys because, I'm not really selling him.
League average is 15.8% K to walk.
There we go. Got it off the top. I like that.
Yeah, it seems like you've done this before. All right. This one is a fun one. You kind of hinted at it before the show, and we were kind of talking about it. Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb stands out in a humongous way. 20.6% K to walk in April, 7.9 in May, 2.43 ERA, 3.77 ERA in May. He got destroyed in his last start at Milwaukee. So Blake Lively, go get him. I did that on purpose, by the way, but go get him this weekend. The one other thing I'll mention is the walks again, similar to Gallen. Didn't walk a ton of guys in April. He's walking everybody in May. So, what are your thoughts on Cobb? Because this could be as simple as when you throw a split finger, as much as certain people do, this will happen.
Yeah, this could be really this could be a really kind of interesting test case for like how bad can you be without. So I just talked about the Framber Valdez ground ball rate and how great it is. Alex Cobb still has a great ground ball rate, 60%. Again, is like one of the best in the league. How bad can you be across everything else and still be an effective major league pitcher? Might be the Alex Cobb experiment for 2023. Because yeah, Bubba, you mentioned the walks. It's the lack of missed bats for me as well. That is really concerning. Alex Cobb in May, a 7% swinging strike rate. Like that is, I don't have it in front of me, but that's got to be one of the worst in baseball in May. So like Alex Cobb is not missing any bats. The control seems to be unraveling a little bit. 10 walks over Alex Cobb's last 3 starts, and the age, 35, the injury history with Alex Cobb. Like you wonder, I don't know. I'm not saying he's pitching hurt, but like this is something that could unravel pretty quickly in the second half. So needs to either miss more bats or, I mean, this is analysis here. Either miss more bats or stop walking people. Do something instead, in addition to supplement that elite ground ball rate, and Alex Cobb will be fine. But yeah, it was a really bad month.
Yeah. Really rough. That's why I'm debating if I even want to drive to San Francisco on Saturday and risk that situation. Next up on the list, Josiah Gray. He's been a fun topic of conversation this year because, he's doing certain things great. His ratios have been okay. He's getting, some strikeouts, which the thing with Gray is he always had strikeout upside. It's just, can he not walk guys? Can he keep the ball in the ballpark? He's keeping the ball in the ballpark this year. Walks, not so much. He had a 12.8% K to walk in April. It's still not great. 1.6% K to walk in May that's almost Alek Manoah 0.0 stuff. And then in April, he had a 2.67. I don't know why that's doing that this time around. I apologize if you guys hear that on the deal. 2.67 ERA in April, 2.89. So the ERA didn't even change much in May, but he's walking everybody. So what's your take on Josiah Gray?
Yeah, it's not good. And I mentioned the ball percentage with Kodai Senga. I'll do the same thing. 39% with Josiah Gray. So it doesn't seem like there's much hope for the lack of control. And like, you need to jump off this bus immediately because yes, a 2.77 ERA on the season. That's just, it's just not going to hold that much for that long. So Josiah Gray to somehow, I'm sure there's a list of names that I could pull but to somehow pretty much the same number of strikeouts and walks and have a sub-3 ERA for a month, nonetheless, like any prolonged amount of time is really lucky to do. And so Josiah Gray, I think like, I'd be very hesitant even starting him in 15s. Honestly, I wonder what his start percentage is in main events. Obviously in leagues where you can trade, I think you're hyping up the prospect pedigree, the age, and the surface ERA if you can, and hope to find someone to sell. But it's not going to be good for Josiah Gray from here on out.
I just have to throw this out here because I made the comment. So before Alek Manoah's last start, he had a 0.0 K to walk. He had 3 walks and 2 Ks in his last start. So in the month of May, he has a minus 0.8% K to walk. That's Alek Manoah, everybody. Just gonna reiterate how bad he is. Negative 0.8, folks.
And he didn't show up on the list because I'm guessing April wasn't.
I'll tell you right now. I'll pull it right up here because this is a guy that
6%.
Good God. So he goes basically, it's like almost a 7% difference. That is dreadful.
Yeah. They sent him down. He's in AAA.
He has. Oh, they did? I missed that.
Yep. Sent him down after his last start, which is probably the right move. Get his something's not right. Either mentally, I know that kind of sounds weird, but it could just be something in his head or something mechanical. Something's not right. You got to get him out of the spotlight and try and figure some stuff out.
Oh, good. I missed that one. So that's good to hear. I'll let you pick the next one because you can kind of go a different angle with so many different guys here. But, Gossman's on the list. He's still elite, but he did have some weird shifts in May. There's Barrios, there's Stefani.
Gossman's a faller, but again, it's one of those he fell from 31% to 20%, so still well above average. And that doesn't even count Gossman's June 1st start, which I think he struck out 11 today.
Yeah, he was dominant again.
So
against the was it the Brewers? Yeah, Brewers.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
this is kind of weird, dude. Gossman has. I just pulled it up. You want to talk about a roller coaster? Because I've got this dude almost everywhere.
His May's been a roller coaster.
His May is old. See, he's got 5 games with double-digit strikeouts, and 2 games with 7 or more earned runs. He's got a 7 earned run game, an 8 earned run game, and then 5 games with double-digit Ks.
I guess he had like 4 or 6 all of last season. He's already got that much in 2 months of the season. Yeah. Double-digit K games. He's on one. I guess in the second draft, Gladiator drafts, he was going like the 3rd or 4th pitcher off the board right now.
Yep, as he should be.
He should be for sure.
Were you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say, what else do you got here?
Jose Barrios is one I want to talk about just because it seems like on the surface, Barrios is turning a corner. Barrios had a 3.19 ERA in May, but Barrios does pop on this list of strikeout minus walk fallers from April, which April wasn't really that great. It was below. Well, Barrios had a 22% K minus walk. I shouldn't say that. He was above average in April. That fell to 11% in May. So like Jose Barrios, surface stats look great in May, but this isn't really like you compare him to last year. Whiffs are up a little bit, but not much. A few more ground balls, but I don't think he's out of the woods by any means.
Yeah, that 5 walks he had in his last appearance is that's the guy we're all scared to see take the mound out there.
Jeez.
Yeah, against Minnesota. Still no runs though. 4 hits, 5 walks, 5 Ks, and 5 2/3. Got the win. No runs. He had a 0 ERA and a 5.01 xFIP. That's called lucky, folks.
Been a couple of those. There's been a couple, not walks, but 0 strikeout.
Yeah,
your boy, Domingo Herman.
Yeah,
no, not Domingo Herman.
Julio
Teheran.
Yeah, he did it 2 nights ago. I'm just like, what in the world? The first start against the Giants, 1 run, 5 Ks. I'm like, okay, interesting.
I don't know why he's your boy, but
yeah, I don't know why either. But I'll let you have it. And then he comes out there with 0 strikeouts in Toronto against the Blue Jays. I'm like, what planet are we living on right now?
That was against the Blue Jays.
Jeez. Yeah, in Toronto. It was just like, what the heck is going on? So we'll see where he goes next. People, don't spend money on Julio Teheran, please. Do not spend $1. Like, if you're in a 15-team league, don't spend any more than $1 if you're feeling like you really need to. Because
not even.
I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole because I'm pretty sure he's got 2 starts next week too. I closed that. Let me open it up real quick.
He'll get scooped up if he's got 2.
That's what I'm saying. So because I shut it down a second ago, but I got it back up now. Milwaukee, Teheran at Great American Small Park. And then at home versus the A's.
Ooh.
It's gonna people are gonna spend money.
That's
people
a fun one.
Money. Yep. Great American Small Park. I'm sorry if you don't strike guys out in Cincinnati. I don't think you're getting 0 runs scored. That's gonna be trouble. But
that's a fascinating.
With the A's one, it's interesting.
What's your over under earned runs across the 2 starts?
2 starts. I say he throws 9 innings and gives up 7 earned runs.
7 earned runs. I'll go 9.
Yeah, I think he gets shelled.
Let me put this in our little sheet here. It won't be part of our scoreboard.
Just so we know we can recap it next week. I think that's a wild one too. I'd take a look at it. This the Teheran 2-step.
Teheran 2-step. Buckle up.
Hey, and by the way, this isn't on the Bloom boards, and people might get annoyed by this, but I wanted to bring this up. Your boy Cookie has put together a couple good starts in a row here. I'm just going to throw that out there. And he's got Atlanta and at Pittsburgh next week.
At Atlanta and at Pittsburgh?
Yeah. But he's starting to. He looked a little better for the last 2 starts. I will say.
I'd take Carrasco over Teheran right now.
100%. I'm with you 100%
anything
on that.
But...
So Manoah got sent down because he's still scheduled as a 2-star pitcher next week. Are you sure about this?
Yeah.
Okay. Then RotoWire has not updated yet, but fair enough. Yeah, I have a bunch of questions. I guess some interesting 2 starts next week, but I don't know if the rabbit hole is worth going down at this point in time, but it'll be an interesting week. Like Tommy Henry's on there, and he's pitched pretty well of late. That's it could be because he's not rostered in all the leagues yet, so we'll see how that one plays out. But I digress. Anybody else on the Bloom boards, good, bad, ugly, that you'd like to discuss?
Now you've got me on tilt with Alec Manoah. I'm pretty sure he got sent down.
I was like, I hadn't heard that news yet. He should get sent down.
You say Kikuchi turned back into Yusei Kikuchi in May, unfortunately. 21% K to walk in April, 8% in May with a 5.83 ERA. We're talking about a lot of Blue Jay pitchers, mostly in the bad, Gossman notwithstanding. That's going to be interesting to see how Toronto navigates that rotation with so many landmines.
Where's the ballpark, the schedule? I wonder what's causing this whole shift in Toronto. But we have a listener question here. Mr. Jack Kitchen asks us, he says, how is Cabrera's ERA going up? You had Edward Cabrera on the list, 8.7 K to walk in April, 18.9 in May, but his 4.67 ERA went up to 5.4 in May. That was a big standout point there for Edward. I'll say this much to you. It's not bad. A lot of 3 earned runs or less. It's just he only went 3 1/3 and gave it 4 runs to Arizona. That's the biggest thing I can see. But what do you got on this one?
I mean, with Cabrera, it's all the walks. So, like, I mean, I don't know. Cabrera's most recent start, 4 walks at the Angels. Like, you just can't get very far. And the other thing I wonder, too, is, like, I'll call him your boy because you texted me. Trevor Rogers is coming back.
Yeah.
Like, does Edward Cabrera have a spot in that rotation? Obviously, Sandy,
Sandy's spot.
Sandy's fine. Lazardo will stay. Braxton Garrett should stay. Yuri Perez will stay.
Yeah.
And so it's Trevor Rogers versus Edward Cabrera. So I think I can't say I'd rather have Rogers. I'm still scarred, but that's an interesting one to where, like, if the walks keep coming with Edward Cabrera, I don't know how long he's in Miami's rotation.
Yeah, and Trevor Rogers threw his rehab start on the 30th, and he 4 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, 7 Ks on 58 pitches. I know it was single A, but good to see the big man back on the bump. So hopefully our man, Trevor Rogers, pitches well this year. Corbin Young says, which 2 or 3 do you think are legit on the Gainer side?
Most legit on the Gainer side, I would go Charlie Morton, Jon Gray, and just because it's Corbin, Mitch Keller.
There you go. Keller's been awesome. He struggled against the Giants.
No, again. It's not just because it's Corbin. Mitch Keller, it's probably someone we should have talked about. I mean, a 31% K- walk in May. Like,
and he had like his really he had like his 2 worst outings of the year, the last 2 starts, and he still has numbers like that. That says a lot.
Alec Manoah was not optioned. I have no idea. I swear, man. I was watching.
He had a dream because he should have been optioned. But he just
I was watching the Blue Jays because I was watching Gossman. I was watching the Blue Jays, and
maybe they were saying how he should be optioned.
Jesus,
that's why I was confused.
No,
I know I've been out of the loop lately, but talk to me here. Talk to me, Goose. I have no idea.
I could have sworn maybe I'm just in a haze, in a fog. Yeah, he's still supposed to. Manoah's still
2 stars.
There should be option.
He should be.
Maybe if he does get optioned this coming week, I should like channel my dreams, I guess, and
your inner roto gut.
Yeah.
2 to 3 guys for me. I think the Keller call's great. Charlie Morton for sure would be another dude. We didn't even talk about Michael Kopech. That's
Kopech.
Whole other situation there. Yeah, Framber's legit as well. So I think we're on the same page on those guys. We can bring it up just real quick before we sign out. Kopech kind of went back to earth his last start, and a lot of it, like 2 starts ago, was a different angle of his release point, and he went back to his old release point his last start. So this could be literally a start-to-start fidgety thing with him. But even with the release point going back to his old way, still had tons of strikeouts. And that's what made me like, okay, he's still striking dudes out. That's a plus in my book.
Yeah, and I mean, some of it may be the schedule, but I don't know, 29 strikeouts in Kopech's last 3 starts. really good. But then you look at the 3 starts before that, he had a game with 6 walks, he had a game with 2 strikeouts, and he had a game with 5 walks. So, like, I don't know. I shouldn't say never, but I have not been a Michael Kopech guy really ever in his career. And I don't know. I'm not jumping on just because of this one hot month. I think he'll fall back, but who knows? There is some good stuff out there about, like you said, the release point, some changes that he made that might keep the recent streak alive. But I still just can't get over Michael Kopech.
Yep, it's pretty wild to see that transition, and there'll be more to come. So I can't wait to see what Bloom board we have next week. But as we head on out of here, Mr. Bloomfield, any final thoughts as we are into June already?
Just hoping Alek Manoah gets optioned.
That would be awesome. Well, not for him, but for you.
No, not for him.
Yeah,
for my
because next week he's got versus Houston and versus Minnesota, so he might need to go take a breather somewhere for a little while.
Alek Manoah or Tehran next week.
Oh no!
Can't believe we're even considering this.
How is that a discussion point? I think I go Tehran just because of that Oakland start.
Wow.
That's not an easy decision. If neither was an option, I'd pick neither, but it wasn't. So we're going there. Oof, that's rough. All right, we'll wrap it up on that wonderful note. Hopefully nobody was eating anything when they heard that part of the show. But you can find Ryan on Twitter at RyanBHQ, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod. I am at BDentric. We'll be back with you guys next week for more fantasy baseball analysis and fun. But for now, Bubba and the Bloom, episode 59 in the books. Catch you guys next time.